Hello, we are live, and guess what? We are live on time tonight, friends. Welcome to this month's Roundtable. How are you, ladies?
Good,
I'm
good.
like,
Well,
don't
welcome.
everyone
I
talk
know,
at once.
don't, right? That's funny. Well, welcome everyone to Beyond Nutrition Community Podcast, a space where you can slow down and tune in and start rebuilding your health from the inside out. So, we're your host, Coach Becky and Coach Sly. And for those of you that don't, are Coach I'm Coach Sherry. That's Coach Becky, and that's Coach Sly. I don't know where everybody's at on the screen, but every month we have a coaches roundtable and we invite Coach Sly to join us. So just so everyone knows, we are just three women who were overwhelmed, exhausted, and disconnected from our own bodies. We have lived it. We have moved through it. We have rewritten our stories, not with quick fixes. Or pushing more, right? But with a slow, steady healing and a return to what's real. So, we're here to walk with you as you learn to trust your body, honor your nature's rhythms, and create sustainable health in every part of your life. This is a place for honest conversations, gentle support, and a community that reminds you that you're not doing this alone. If you're craving calm, clarity, and a deeper connection to yourself, you have found your people and you are in the right place. So tonight, our topic is for the Coaches Roundtable, your light diet is broken.
Awesome. And how are you tonight, Coach Sly?
I am okay. No, I'm good. As we were talking a little bit before, the work stuff, just getting adapted to new roles at work and everything like that. Other than that, enjoyed a nice snow dumping over the weekend of like 10 to 12 inches. So that was fun, right? And got some sunlight, some cold exposure, and earthing on some fresh powdered snow. So that was also good.
I was to say I seen that, and that's I'm glad you kept it up there, and you didn't share down here with us.
I really wanted to
I
share it with
I am
Sherry.
so over the cold weather right now. I'm ready for it to be nice and stay nice. Right.
It was in the 70s
I
today.
think she had her fair share of cold this year.
I did. I did. I did for us Southern folk, right? Too funny.
Too funny.
So let's go ahead and dig in, ladies. What do you think?
Absolutely.
Sure.
So,
Becky?
yeah, whoever we are, I don't know. I just lost my old mind there. Well, I came sliding in at the last minute tonight, so we are doing some work out on our property, so that's what was going on. So basically, most people think that food is wrecking their hormones. Would you guys agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
actually,
I mean, yeah. Most people end up and believe that. Yeah, absolutely, because they end up and they go on that realm of either elimination or tracking or optimizing. Every bite. Right? They cut the carbs. They track. They fast. It's many times they end up and they adjust that, but then they get stuck because things don't move and they end up
mm,
exhausted. So yeah, I would say it's very true.
absolutely. So, what would you guys consider a light diet? Light, light.
Go for it.
We're,
I'll let you give
we're gonna play
your
rock,
side of it
paper,
first.
scissors. Well, Becky, everything that I do, I learned from you. So, I mean, there's that part.
That's why I said I'll let you go first and then I'll end up.
Um, you know, I waking up in the morning, and getting that first morning light, uh, making sure you get out a couple times during the day, in the evening. Even right now, I did have red light night lights through my house, and I still have a red lamp that goes on. But now I have like the salt lamps night lights that I use. You should have seen the lady at my bulb burnt out, and I needed a new bulb. And the lady at the hardware store just was like, "You have what?" I was like, "It's for my salt lamp, so I can have them on at night for my night lights." Um, I would say that that would be my light diet of just making sure that I'm doing the right light for my circadian rhythm at the right times of the days and mornings and stuff. And even now, I know there's a window. It's not perfect, right? But even if I get outside or if I'm inside doing my morning workouts now, I have that window open and I'm always facing out towards the light.
Yeah.
So doing the best I can with what I have. That's what I could consider.
And I think that's the main thing that any of the listeners need to hear, right? Is that it doesn't have to end up and be perfect, right? We have the ability to create health in, even if it's not, 100% perfection.
Mhm.
And I think too many people strive for that perfection and then they get overwhelmed. And, when we're talking about the light diet side of things, yeah, there's, those key times, right? And you brought up a good point in regards of the salt lamp. And that's why I started to, transition my computer around, because I do have a salt lamp up there. But then I also end up and have, one over there with a red light down below. Um, so what my opinion or my take on a light diet, right, is being able to get that first light. Now, there's not a lot of talk in regards of like the civil dawn, the nautical dawn, which is when the sun is below the horizon, but it is starting to create a daybreak, right? That light is starting to transition. So we really kind of do need to end up, and a lot of people are like, well, I end up and I have to be to work at 8 o'clock, or I have to, I can't be out there for sunrise. And there's still benefit when it comes to the melatonin and comes to the body. You made a good point in the grounding. That can end up and be a mild anchor to help with clearing that melatonin out to start your day. So as far as light, yes, it does end up an anchor based on the timing, the intensity. That's where we talk about, the lux of light, but also the spectrum. And that's where, as the sun's coming up, over the horizon at daybreak and sunrise, you start to get that red and near infrared light. But say again, someone has to be to work, right? Maybe they work in a hospital and they have to be at work by 7 o'clock. Sunrise is getting earlier this time of year, but wintertime, that's hard when our days are short. And so really just trying to create your individual perfect imperfect approach, right? Getting the light that you can so that you do get those master signals to the body. But that's also where the secondary signals come in, and the diet part, right? Of getting food, because it is also a timekeeper.
Mhm.
So that's why we don't eat a banana in the middle of wintertime, right? It's only grown under certain light. And so all of this has to, as far as circadian focus, the intensity and spectrum of light or colors of light, it almost looks like, I should have had my graphic pulled up, because it looks like a barcode, right? It comes
Mhm.
from, I'm like pointing in the direction, right? It comes from the eastern horizon, and it's primarily red, and then it goes into like the orange, the yellow. Solar noon is the bright blue, nature's, brightest blue light, highest lux of light also. That's why certain times a year we also have the UVB midday. And then as it goes down, those colors start to end up in reverse. But like I said, there is benefit of, still being outside, grounding, all of that when it comes to the hormone release. So many people, look at outdoor light in the morning as far as cortisol goes. This is why I made you go first, because I can go on forever on this. As far as the cortisol release in the morning, that helps with the energy, it helps with the alertness, it helps with the glucose. It does also help with nighttime. And that's where people don't end up and put enough emphasis, in my opinion, is the building of that melatonin at night for the repair and for the fat burning, because the leptin also docks. So if you're not getting proper sleep, you aren't going to end up and have the fat burning, which again kind of goes back to, everyone always optimizes nutrition first, when in reality, I feel they need to optimize the light routine first.
Yeah, I would say that I would define a light diet as everything that my eyes and skin consumes,
Mm.
um, from basically sunrise to bedtime. Um, it's a pattern. People don't realize that there's a pattern to it, and I agree completely with it. And we've all three of us, right, have learned the importance of that light diet, because at some point when things stop working, when you're trying to heal, whether it's what you're eating and so forth, you have to start looking at the beyonds, right? And that's why we thought this was a good topic tonight. But let me give you some examples, like some real world examples. So let's say you're scrolling on your phone, 6 inches from your face, laying in bed before it's time to go to sleep. Bright overhead LED lights on until midnight. Watching TV in a fully lit room. Working on your laptop after 9 p.m. Kids doing homework under bright white lights at 10 p.m. at night. All of those are examples of like what not to do, right? When any suggestions on breaking down some of what those examples are, and why that is causing things to happen.
Well, I won't go into the cause, but even at work, we've talked about it before. I can't really put blue blockers on, the
Yeah.
right blue blockers on, because I have to see the color correctly because of my work, right? But what I did do is I found, for the fluorescent lights above me, right? I found a cover for them that has like a blue and a white sky kind of atmosphere to it. Now, I had them on both of my lights in my room, and I found myself falling asleep for it was so crazy. The way the light was in there, it was just the right type. I was just like, oh, I'm gonna go to sleep. So I did take them off of one light, but not the light that's directly over my head. I took it off the one that's not directly over my head. And I've noticed a difference with that. It's like not up. I don't have any windows, so I can't just like keep the lights off. But those kinds of things. I wish there was something to do with the blue blockers. I've tried to figure it out, but like it would just be a constant this with it, just because I do need to be able to verify colors and stuff when I'm looking at my jobs and everything. But as you said on the phone, I have, well, I don't know if you can see it because it's on the thing, but I do have a screen protector on here, and the screen protector itself is a privacy screen protector, but it's actually green and yellow and and orange. So it's a completely different color to block some of those lights and stuff from when I'm doing my screen time. Uh, at night, I don't have all the lights on in there. If I have my lamp, I also have a reading lamp, but it has yellow lighting to it. So, there's just small things that you can do to prevent some of the things that we're trying to right now. Like this, my screen right now, this computer, I could probably do that. You can get a blue light blocker for your screen too, but I wish I could do it for work. I just can't. I don't, it's just not a thing for there. But those are just some of the small steps that I've taken to help reduce some of the artificial light that my eyes and body don't need.
Well, and that, you make a good point, right? In regards of you need those colors, but you are also someone that does end up and get outside, right?
Mm.
And you see the light and you get that natural light and you get, you take the light breaks. So is it going to be as detrimental? I don't know, as far as, the spectrum of light that is still being able to come through on your phone filter. I haven't obviously, tested that. They do end up and make apps. They make settings where you can change and your screen is red. Because like I have Twilight on my phone where it will automatically come on and it starts to turn, my phone screen red. They do make iris for the
Mm.
computer. So like my computer, because, unless I'm in like say Canva or something where I have to, again, see the proper colors, right? But I can still keep that red a little bit low enough. It's called health is the setting. Um, but again, I'm not reliant on clients or customers, right? It's just kind of my own thing that I'm hoping to, create a brand and keep the colors consistent, right? But as far as the light, I mean, the reasons why, I know you ended up and said, Sherry, the reasons. So
Mhm.
when people don't get that strong morning light, it ends up and it creates a cortisol mismatch essentially. So that can end up, and if you don't get the natural morning light, what happens when the sun is rising, you get this gradual flow of lux of light. So the intensity of light is going to end up and be relatively, low, right? And then as the sun comes up over the horizon and gets to like UV sunrise, UVA rise, and more, that lux of light or the brightness of light is increasing. And if you start turning on, say LED lights or overhead lights or, a bunch of bright lights in the morning, that's going to end up and create a cortisol spike. And that's where we get poor blood sugar control. We get a sluggish metabolism. It also sets you up on cravings for the day. Where if you start your day with the natural light, even on cloudy days, you're going to end up getting a different intensity, but you're also getting a full spectrum. So when we talk about the spectrum of light, nature is going to end up and at sunrise be high in the red spectrums. The blues are going to be less. Now, if you kick on fluorescent light, LED lights, you're going to be higher in the blue and
Mhm.
less in the low or less in the red. It's a Monday after a holiday, less in the red. So that is where you're getting this mismatch. And same thing goes for nighttime, right? You're getting too much of the blue artificial light and you're suppressing your melatonin. So, sometimes I'm not saying that you have to completely, again, perfect world, right? Avoid all electronics and avoid all light or, everything like that, right? There's going to be times where, I mean, I've even had clients that try to cover like their stove clock because they're trying to, block any light that isn't red, orange, or amber colored. And, you know, sometimes that doesn't always work, right? But if you can get it lower than 10 lux of light in your house,
Mhm.
you're going to be able to allow that proper melatonin production. So to go back, there are some lights where people will use even like a red light. I have one below my desk that I don't have kicked on because if I end up and I kick it on, then, the intensity of red is going to end up and be really bright. Where, I have my red lamp and it's that lower lux, but it's also a lamp and it's lower than eye level. Anything above eyes that is, can be too bright is going to end up and suppress that. So it really is just a lack of the true darkness at night that our body can't fully shift into that repair and that whole, fat burning side of things, right? A lot of people are coming to seeking answers because their biggest thing is weight loss. So, artificial light at night is going to end up and disrupt the patterns. It's going to end up and create a misalignment in energy and, just really kind of timing when you're eating, when you're, sending these signals to your body, right? There's all these clocks, not only in the liver and the gut and, your fatty tissues. So,
So
Well,
I
I
have a question for you.
yeah,
mhm.
go ahead.
I have a big question for you. What would your advice be to the night owls or people that work night shift overnights? What would your advice to them be to help with their lighting and stuff? Besides find a new job and go to bed. 'Cause that's what I tell them.
Well, and I get that. That's not going to,
Mhm.
end up and be optimal for everyone, right? We have to have our night shift workers because they're the ones that are keeping the hospitals open. They're the ones. So we do really end up in need the night shift workers. There is a difference in, what they are doing, right? Um, as far as whoa, as far as, kind of their routine and what that kind of ends up and looks like. As far as eating
Yeah.
goes, same thing's going to apply, right? Don't end up and eat when you get off your shift and then go to bed. Don't, if they can. So this is where it's going to end up and depend because, like, for instance, my sister-in-law, right? She works at a hospital. Can she wear blue blockers? Most of the time, the answer is going to end up and be yes, right? Um, she could probably wear blue blockers. She can wear one of, the jackets so that her skin is covered from the LED lights. They have the scrub covers. Um, so I would end up and cover the skin, I would cover the eyes, and then really look at what you are consuming. If they are doing carbs, do carbs earlier in their shift. Have your last meal, say, 3-4 hours before. Now, I know a lot of people end up and have set meal times, or they end up and they have meals where they can only, grab a small meal in the middle of a shift, right? They don't have set breaks. Some people do if you're more in like factory work or something. But eat before you go to work and then eat when, it's your break, like mid shift, whatever time your dinner break essentially is. Put your carbs in those two meals and then make your last meal a little bit smaller because it's going to be no different than, flip flopping the day, right? We don't want to eat a large meal and then go to bed because of the insulin. And it also raises cortisol when you are digesting food. So your cortisol is raised plus your insulin from the meal that you're consuming. Don't care if it's even just protein and fats, you are getting some type of a insulin response. May not be as much being, without the carbs in there, but you are getting a meal response that also allows your body the energy that it may end up in need through the nighttime, through that night shift work, instead of trying to rely on a secondary cortisol response. And then when you end up and you get home, do some grounding, put your blue blockers on, put your red blue blockers on about an hour or so, whatever time you end up and get home. Don't drive with your blue blockers on. You can drive with your yellow ones, but do not drive with orange or red. It is not safe, filters too much light. And then create your bedroom into a cave.
Mm.
So have the blue blocking curtains, have, as minimal light, have a sound machine if you are somewhere like in the city where there may be daytime noise, cars, trucks, that type of thing, so that you are really creating kind of that sanctuary for you. You can also, if you are, a healthcare worker, you've been up, you've been running, high stress, that type of thing, you can also end up and do a magnesium bath once you end up and you
Mm.
get home. So that
Mhm.
magnesium bath really does end up and relax you, but the magnesium also helps with cortisol. So you're getting kind of a double whammy there with, getting the grounding that is going to help with kind of replenishing the electrolytes that have been, depleted being under that light all night. So it's going to kind of, replenish that because blue light can be very dehydrating on a cellular level, but then you're also, so you recharge with the electrolytes, you calm the cortisol, you wind down with, the magnesium or Epsom salt, and then you're blocking the light because you have the red blue blockers, and you're, winding down and getting ready for bed. There is also parasympathetic things. If you're someone that's up, factory work, hospital work, someone that is, upgoing, you can do things like legs up the wall. That is a good parasympathetic pose. The vibration plate for about 5 minutes is a good way to activate the parasympathetic side. It also helps with the, lymphatic system, draining, that whole side. So any of those are really beneficial for night shift work, when they end up and they are coming home and, trying to wind down and get some sleep.
So, what do you think um, people most misunderstand about that confusion, that light confusion?
Can you
You guys
rephrase
are
the
not.
question?
You guys are not.
Well, I'm the long-winded answer, so I'm always going to let Sly go first because this.
Can you repeat the question with a vowel, please?
What are some sneaky habits that people don't realize that the lights are harming them? How's that?
Sneaky habits that people, I think, just they don't know. Like they just don't know. It's just so normal. Like we grew up this way. They turn the lights on when we're in school all day. We're under them. We haven't been taught half the things that we're like. These are everything that I've learned within the last 5 years of my life. I should have learned that in school, right? That's what we should have been learning in school is how to take care of our bodies and what the proper thing is, not, trigonometry, which I didn't take first of all, and would never use, right? Like who cares if train A is leaving the tracks at this and train C and B leave 15 minutes earlier and 15 minutes later? Just knowing and figuring it out is what I would say to do, like, and knowing, and then knowing, I mean, like we keep saying nutrition isn't the first thing to fix, but I think it's just like when we talk about it in the treatment groups, we talk about the treatment groups that if we took two treatment groups and this group all they did was come to class and sit in groups all day, right, and that's their only treatment, and this class came and changed their lifestyles, their nutrition, their exercise, and all these other factors, this side would have a better chance of staying clean longer than the people that just sat in the groups. And I don't disagree with that, but I think it takes everything together in order to make it happen. So if we're not getting our sleep because we have the lights in our eyes at night and stuff, and I have my TV on all night long. I have it on all night long, but I wear a mask. I wear a blackout mask with it. I can't sleep without the TV on. I've tried. Or I can go to a screen, or if I, depending on what day it is, I can also put it on like a YouTube thing where the screen blacks out and I still have the sound behind it. So it's just like, if you don't know, how are you going to know to do anything better for yourself? So I think that's the biggest thing people just don't know how it affects you. Just like people don't understand what we put in our mouth actually affects our brain. Like the concept of it is like they're not even there for them. Like it does matter. And the way that I put that is like if a diabetic goes to the doctor, what are they going to do? What's the first thing they're going to tell them to do besides give them meds? If you go because your heart, if you go because your kidneys, what are the things they're going to do? The same with this, but we have to change everything, not just one thing. And if the light is going to help me sleep better, then that's what we need to do. And it does. You can tell the difference between them. And like I said, it's not perfect all the time, every time. But when I do get it done and make the conscious decisions, especially now that it's staying light, it's still light after I get off work. How you like that, ladies?
Right.
You know, getting out of my car, this is something I don't do it when it's super cold outside because it's super cold outside and slick. But like when the weather gets a little bit warmer, one of the things that I do is I get out of my car and I will walk around my block before I walk into my house. It's 15 minutes. It's not that big of a deal. It's not like I'm doing something that's taken me an hour and a half just to do something that could give me another 12 hours worth of benefits, right? So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's what I got.
It is. It's those small achievable wins that lead to the big success, right? And I kind of think, I agree with you in a lot of people don't put enough emphasis in the small things, right? They end up and they think they have to make these drastic changes where
Mhm.
my workout, I mean, I call it imperfect because am I using my resistance bands, properly? Eh, heck to the no, right? Um, keep this PG for all the kids. No, I'm kidding. But it's part of that whole complex that the diet industry created for us, right? Calories in, calories out, macros end up and matter most. They overcomplicated it. It's not just
Yeah.
eat less, move more, or the dietary camps love them, dearly, but there has been this such division in so many areas where you have the keto group over here. Oh, you have the high fat keto group, you have the therapeutic keto group, you have, or you have the carnivore, or you have the low carb, or you have, there's so many areas where people have almost too much of a fire hose of information, and they got so far away from listening to themselves that they think it's too easy to listen to themselves. And so that kind of same thing goes with for the light, right? It's too simple or it's too woo woo, right? I can't tell you how many times I've tried educating and tried speaking to and had coaching sessions, right? And is very powerful. It is one of the most powerful, right? Um, it is a third of the equation of what we need to end up and do. But to me, people think it's, not important enough. So they're, looking at their phone in the middle of the night or they're checking emails in the middle of the night. I was on I was texting with a company that is actually over in the UK.
Yeah.
Love the company dearly, but I knew what time it is for me, and we do have a community member that is in the UK, so I knew what time it was there too. And I'm like, "Why are you texting me?"
They answered your question.
Yeah, I
You had
did.
sent
I
the company a question and they answered it.
They did, but I'm like, "Why are you answering me? It's like 4 in the morning for you." This could have waited till morning. Well, and so I'm having this whole dialogue conversation with them over, getting proper sleep and how they shouldn't be on their phone. And I
She
mean,
did.
it's like
She
this
did.
whole love the company dearly. I mean, they, were answering me through telegrams. So that's the connection that I have with the company. But I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Of all people, you're going to end up and answer me when you're supposed to be sleeping, right? So there again, there's so many people that have created that disconnect from light that it's either, not scientific enough. There are so many studies out there in regards of circadian side of things, the
Why do we
circadian.
need that's the other thing too. Why? Why do we have to have the perfect science behind it? We don't need science. We just need to look at the way we live, not like currently, maybe within the last 100 years or so, but like look at how we lived before then. Look
Mhm.
when we were in better health. Even, I mean, like you don't even have to go back 100 years. Everybody's posting the pictures now. If you look at the people in the 50s, 60s, and 70s and stuff, What were they doing different? People weren't afraid of the sun. People weren't afraid of eating fat. People were out doing stuff, being outside. People weren't putting loads of sunscreen over their bodies to try to keep
Mhm.
the sun from absorbing it.
Well, they were actually using it in hospitals for a therapeutic
Mhm.
tool. They had
Mhm.
rooftop healing where they would actually take patients and set them in sunlight for healing. But,
And
we've
look at that.
gotten so sophisticated or quote sophisticated, right? We have gotten so stuck in the allopathic Western medicine where we're looking at blood work, we're looking at pharmaceutical, we're looking at, every protocol that's basically taught in medical school. And we've gotten so far disconnected from the natural healing side of things, right? I will be the first to end up and jump on the board and say, I don't do supplements. Um, other than my electrolytes, because I cannot get it from groundwater because our ground is so stripped in minerals and
Mhm.
nutrients that we can't get that in our groundwater. I don't have a natural spring by me. Sorry, I'm in the middle of Nebraska. There ain't no natural
What?
spring that I can go and tap into in my backyard. Is there natural springs? Yes, I'm sure there are, but they're going to end up and be hours from me. So,
Yeah.
with that said, right?
But the
But
closest one I know of is in Duluth right now.
right? So in reality, relying on these other what we call in, the circadian space, the zeitgeibers, right? The strongest zeitgeibers are going to end up and be, or quote, time givers, right? Are going to end up and be the circadian side of things, the natural side of things, the things that set everything downstream, the cortisol, the melatonin, the insulin, the leptin, the ghrelin even, right? So your hunger hormones, right, are set by light. People don't end up and realize the suprachiasmatic nucleus ends up and regulates this.
Go ahead
They
and
end
say
up in
that
the
word again. Go back and say that word again.
suprachiasmatic nucleus,
Okay.
SCN.
Thank you.
I heard supercalifragilisticexpialidocious is what I
But
heard.
the other
Suprachiasmatic
thing
nucleus.
though too is I think you hit on something earlier, right? That people are looking for their perfect thing. And here's what I loved about Georgia E's book is change your diet, change your mind, right? And even if you go over to the metabolic minds, they talk about everything we're talking about here right now on top of the diet, right?
Mhm.
But their diet and what she says in there is that each organ of your body does not need a different diet. It doesn't. And so and although she calls it the quiet diets, right? Just because so they can get to where they need to she's mental health. She's a psychiatrist. The book's about psychiatry. But if you look in her book, it is a umbrella of anything from a whole foods paleo all the way to a carnivore diet, that it's not so dogmatic that it has to be one thing, but it's the one thing that it's included is if you're eating a brain healthy diet, then you're eating a whole body healthy diet. And I love that part. I do. I love if we
But
just need one
that's
diet.
where, and I agree. But that also feel as though that one diet is going to end up and be based on the individual,
Yes,
because a quote brain healthy diet for one may end up and actually be keto, but for someone like myself that keto did not work and now I'm doing 40% carbs, I've lost 50 some pounds that
but don't
keto and
you do
carnivore did not help me with.
by Whole Foods, right?
Whole food,
I
yeah,
mean,
and that's what I'm saying.
so that would be
So,
paleo
even though I'm
basically.
putting more, um, yes, but
Paleo
no.
plus. But it's still
Yeah,
whole foods. You know what I mean?
I
That's
eat
my
seasonal.
point.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you eat seasonally, you eat whole foods. You don't, well, I don't think that, except for your electrolytes, you're not out there eating You're not out there.
Bonbons and ho-hos.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
That's why it's an umbrella that she has it under. It's an array of where do you fit in here, but it's a
Mhm.
whole food. That's paleo. Okay, so I think you have dairy, so maybe that's not considered paleo, whatever, tit for tat, but it's still whole food. And that's what I'm saying is like you said, keto and carnivore didn't work for you. This is working for you. Keto carnivore works for me. Wherever you
Yeah.
ketovore, whatever you want to put underneath there. Sherry eats different than that, but it's still we're still within a range of a brain healthy diet, which is a whole foods healthy diet. And then now you and so if you have that, and but if you put these other things in here like the light, the circadian rhythm and things like that, like there you have it. It doesn't have to be so friggin' dogmatic about,
Mhm. Well,
all this
and
stuff.
and that's why I said I feel like it has been the labels, right? Get away from the labels. Why do we have to create a label and specify what we are eating? Why? I mean, there may be meals where it would be more ketogenic, right? I have arugula and I'll have a burger patty and I'll have some pickles. Okay, that may end up and be, more keto, right? Why do we have to end up and have labels and not just have nutrition? That is, that's one of the things that I'm saying is we have over complicated and people have gotten so confused of what works for them.
Mm,
I may, eat something that would irritate your gut, right? Okay, don't eat it. It's obviously not part of your plan, right? But like I said, we've gotten so far away from listening to our bodies, listening to our hormones, whether that's because of autoimmune. And I can speak to that, right? I've got a couple autoimmune conditions. I've also been put in menopause when I was 29 because I had a hysterectomy, right? So all of that plays a role because of the hormone side of things too. But everyone just wants to label nutrition and, force trying to produce ketones or force trying the weight loss side of things, right? And start restricting and fasting more. Well, fasting may not end up and be the answer for you, right? Not everyone can end up and fast. So,
Nope.
it's
but everybody can get up in the morning and get some light.
absolutely.
Everybody can go out around noon or lunch and take a break and get some light. Everybody can take some light in at the end of the day or do some the blue blockers, the covering of like I said, I did it and so the ladies next door to me ended up doing it too, getting some lights covered for their lights in there, their customer service so they don't have to see the color as much as I do. But like these are all things that everybody, no matter what diet or what food they want to put in their mouths, can do.
Yeah.
I think that just some simple things people can do, right? Because again, we could go way deep, right? We can go down, and Becky more than all of us, right? Because you've actually studied this, right? But let's just talk about for a minute blue light after a sunset. So you're turning on the lights, right? And you got the TV going and you're playing on your phone or
Mm,
your laptop or your iPad. That is telling your body it is daytime. That is what's happening. And so now you're wired and you can't fall asleep,
mm,
right? I mean, that's
Mhm.
kind of simplifying it in a lot of ways. We can tell you what all it does, but that's what's happening. That is why you are wired and you cannot fall asleep. Brightness, the light brightness after dark spikes an alertness hormone, for lack of a better word, right? And creates a fake stress. Seriously. And again, you're wired and you're not going to go to sleep. Um, so it's a mismatch, right? It's telling your body the wrong signal because guess what? you're supposed to be going getting ready to go to bed and slowing down, and that late night exposure, which I was a victim of. I mean, way back, I was a victim of that. I kept, because that's what I kept hearing was, "Oh, you need to sleep. Oh, you need to sleep." And I'm like, "It's 1 o'clock. I don't know what you people are talking about." I couldn't figure it out. So with that, I mean, it creates cravings. Like your cravings will increase when your light mismatch is off. It's it's hijacking your hormones. It's delaying that deep sleep. It's working in artificial light all day. Is telling my body something different. I wear blue blockers all day at work under fluorescent lighting. I don't have to worry about colors like Sly does at my job. Um, so, but what are some things I can do? Well, I talk to Becky every morning when I drive to work, and my window is cracked. It doesn't matter if it is 40 degrees or if it's 80 degrees. My window is cracked because I am getting that natural light, and I'm not wearing glasses, sunglasses of any type. Now, sometimes I'll be like, "Whoa, that was bright. Let me pull my visor down." So, just some simple things like that. But let me ask you guys a question. What do you do when you have those people that need, they can't see at night? Oh, I have to turn on a light. I
Mm.
have to have light to get up and go to the bathroom. What
I
do
have
you?
salt lamps. I my light. I would take you guys in there if I could, but I can't. But those little, I used to have red ones, which was just bright enough too. But those salt lamp night lights, like it doesn't. It plugs into the wall. It's not even the real expensive one. I think you get two for the price of the one big lamp or whatever on Amazon. I have those plugged in, and it's way more than enough light. Way more than enough light for it. Uh, I had to. My boyfriend couldn't see the color of a steak correctly when I had the red light uh, under my stove, so I had to switch out that one for a lamp in there too. But like, there's plenty of light with it, and your eyes will adjust, right? Your eyes will learn to see through it and stuff. And read it. I have a red light right there. And, even though I wonder some days if when I walk up to my house, I said, I wonder if they think naughty things when they see my red light. But, like it, your eyes will adjust. Your eyes will learn to see through it. I have never had an issue with running into anything or going to the bathroom with just that light on. And if you do, I think sometimes you're just making excuses not to try to do the work.
Yep.
That's
It's
kind of harsh,
But
but
it's the truth. It's the reality when, you know, people want to end up and make the excuse, right? Same with morning light. They end up and they need to turn on lights. I need to be able to see. I get up and, get ready with a salt lamp, but I've changed the bulb in my salt lamp to be a red bulb. So in
mhm.
my bathroom, it's a red salt lamp. So it's even filtered that much more. Yeah,
Cool.
I have like a little red incandescent um Christmas size bulb that I put in my salt lamp in my bathroom. And that's what I get ready in the morning. Obviously, I'm not high maintenance, right? Um but then, I have other salt lamps in throughout my house, and that's my morning light. Now, I do end up and have amber bulbs. I have the red bulb that I showed earlier. But as far as getting up through the night, I don't have it up here, but I have little red night lights
Mm.
that come on once it gets dark. I also have motion activated red night lights. So if you get up and you walk past them, the red light's going to end up and come on. So it's not like that intensity of red is, on all night long, and it's really not that high of intensity of a red nightlight either, but it is still, enough light to light where you're walking if need be.
So, would you say to get started, um, maybe dim the lights at sunset? Would that be a good start?
It could
I
be a good start.
It could be a good start. I myself, I think a better start would be getting up earlier and seeing the morning light. That would, if I was going to tell somebody the first thing to do, I would tell them to do that. There's number one, there's no investing in any other special lights or anything like that. It doesn't cost them anything. They can just get up and do it. So that would be my first thing. The night stuff, um, now, I probably did do the night stuff first. If I think about it, go back to it. But
Mhm.
like I would say the morning light. And then just like when I'm helping coach people, a lot of times we change one meal at a time, change one thing at a time, morning and then your lunch and then your evening. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah. And that's why I ended up and I say, yeah, possibly. Right? Because yeah, you're number one. So if I had to give people, 5 steps, right? 5 free steps where it again is on slice, method, it's not going to cost them anything, right?
Right.
They can just end up and do these 5 things and be consistent with it. That's going to end up and be your big game changer. Is morning light. Absolutely. Getting that morning light, natural morning light within 30 minutes of being up. Just step outside for even 10 minutes. It doesn't have to be perfect, right? 5-10 minutes on a sunny day may end up in needing, 20 minutes on a cloudy day, right? No sunglasses, no contacts, no, phone scrolling, etc., right? Just end up and step outside. That strong light signal again is going to end up and boost your daytime cortisol. It's going to end up and help with metabolism. It's going to help with insulin sensitivity. It's going to help with all of that. It's going to also help your sleep. And that's where, Sly was going on the fact of not necessarily adjusting the sleep first, but adjusting the morning light first, because it's going to help the melatonin rise in the pineal gland to support sleep that night. So, and same thing happens for people that, are dear friends that are further up north, because they end up and, going into winter is a longer time. If they are getting that, outdoor first light, bundle up if it's, still cold, but getting that light, because that does also help with seasonal affect disorder. So really getting that light. And then number 2 is going to end up and be dim your lights. You don't have to buy the salt lamps. You don't have to buy the red bulbs. You don't have to buy the candles. Shut the damn light switch off. Right? It can be as simple as that, friends. Sit in the dark. Be okay with the dark, right? If you have a candle, burn a candle. If you have, a incandescent bulb, burn that, right? Evening low lighting. It doesn't buy a lamp. If you have a lamp, use a lamp. I have several clients that, they haven't bought the salt lamps or the red bulbs or even the amber bulbs for that. For the longest time, we used the lamp and we shut our overhead lights off, because that was a compromise I could make with my husband. We now end up and have a bunch of salt lamps downstairs, and, things are a lot different in our evening now. 6 years into it, we've made a lot of compromise and a lot of progress, but a lot of that is different. And those first two are the biggest when it comes to my Hashimoto repair. When putting that in remission, those 2 things alone were a big impact. Now, yes, carbs played a factor in the whole thyroid conversion and all of that, which is where eating during daytime, right? Not eating too close to bed, keeping, 3-4 hours, not a lot of fasting. I formerly did fasting, even created a whole program around it, but I don't do it anymore. But also that morning meal, That is such a secondary signal that a lot of people are like, well, I'm just not hungry. That's because your cortisol is too high. If you start eating in the morning and you give your body that fuel, it regulates your blood sugar. It doesn't create a dawn effect or dawn phenomenon, right? You end up and you give your body that fuel source, your body is going to end up and run a lot better. So, that would end up and be my third. Fourth would be to get that natural light. Like you said, do your light breaks, go outside on your lunch break, move around outside. If you can't get outside, stand in a doorway, open a window. If you can go for a walk, great. You're going to end up and see, stable energy and blood sugar from it. But the other one I think is almost the hardest for anyone. And that is to keep wake and bedtime times within an hour
Mm.
of consistency and off of your phone within that hour of going to bed. That is the hardest part. We've done a lot of challenges in the BNC community, and being off your phone within that hour of going to bed and keeping that time consistent is the hardest thing for anyone. And that means year round, right? Because people are like, oh, it's summer, it's light until 9, 10, 11 o'clock, whatever, right? Most of the time it's between 9 and 10. But so then they're up late and they're not winding down, and it's just, it really ends up, it throws that off. But again, like I said, the body likes predictability. So the more consistent you can keep it, even on the weekends, not sleeping until 8, 9 o'clock, you're going to end up and improve the body and these signals of the body in, and not create that kind of erratic warrior mentality of, you do really great 5 days a week, and then it's free for all, falling off the wagon, binging on the weekend.
I
Keep
have
that
a hack
consistent.
for the phone. I have a hack. So if we're on our phone, we're probably on social media, right?
Most of the time,
Well,
yes.
yes. So one, I have set timers for my social media. I have, I call them minutes. I have, just like you used to have texting minutes, I only have so minutes a day. I mean, you can't, it's across all apps, but also you can have a bedtime snooze on there. All Instagram, Facebook, and TikToks is actually the best one when it comes to their time managements on there. And so you can have a bedtime and an awake time. And it will, if you try to go on it, it might open up, but within seconds, it'll be like, hey, you're not supposed to be on here. Obviously, you can always override these things, but it's still a nice little tiny hack to use if you're, like you said, it's one of the hardest things for people to do because one, either you will forget, two, what I found myself is like now there's reels on everything, and then you get lost because they're so cute and fun, right? So I love the timers and the sleep. It's called, they have a sleep mode, is what it's called. Yeah, and you can set that sleep mode for whenever you want. So if you set it an hour before you're supposed to be asleep, and then you can, instead of setting it like when you wake up, set it for an hour or two after you're awake. It's still, it'll help you build those habits.
Absolutely. It
I
definitely helps.
love it. I'm opening my still light out, but the sunset was so bright I had to close my shade. Um, I was like, that sun was so bright. Those are some great practical tips. I love that. Anything else that anybody wants to add tonight? I think these were some great takeaways.
You got all my tips and tricks for light. That's all I got. No more. Shared them all. Not, I'm not gatekeeping anything tonight.
I think the biggest thing, that the community needs to know is that some of these smaller steps can be very empowering and very doable. They just got to create a rhythm that is going to be able to be consistent for them and put one thing in at a time. You don't have to, start with everything. Like we were saying, start with one. Pick the morning light, right? That's your biggest leverage. Pick it, build from there.
Mhm.
Create, maybe you do it for the next, 7 to 14 days. How do you notice your energy? How are your cravings? How are your sleep? All of those type of things, and then end up and add, the next one in, right? And just do it slow. You don't have to completely flip your lifestyle overnight.
Mhm. And I don't
Absolutely.
suggest it.
Right.
Well, tonight, if tonight's conversation gave you something to think about or something to try, we would love to hear from you. Of course, we would love it if you would subscribe to this podcast, share it with someone who you think is needed to hear this message tonight. Um, your engagement does help this community grow, and it helps more people discover a slower, steadier path. So, with that, I am going to announce that next week we have a guest again. We have been having a lot of guests on, and I hope you're enjoying them very much. But Dr. Bill Schindler is coming back. He's actually been on our podcast once already, so this is his second time we are welcoming him back. So he is an archaeologist, yes, a chef, and the author of Eat Like a Human. And he's known for bridging the ancestral food wisdom with modern nutritional science. He actually teaches people how to reconnect with nutrient density, traditional food practices that humans relied on for thousands of years. His work empowers families to reclaim real nutrition through fermentation. Yeah, you'll hear that. Let's talk about that. Whole animal use and ancestral food processing. So, he will be on next Monday. That is the 13th, I believe, at 7 p.m. Central Time. So don't forget to subscribe so you know when we are about to go live. Um, one last thing to wrap up, Sly. Anything, Becky?
I'm good.
You're good. All right.
And
Well,
that's just saying we lost Sly and she can't hear us. So,
this is how our Mondays go. Uh,
right?
we either are late getting started because of technical issues, or now we're ending on technical issues. So there we go. I love it.
Awesome. All righty. Have a wonderful night, everyone.